Well, hello again. The heat index in Conway, Arkansas today is 122 degrees. I'm not going any further. I'll see you tomorrow. Well, hello again and again. We've had a cold snap. Lucky us. Our heat index is down to 118. So let's go get into some more mischief. I'll tell you what, let's crank up this next video by doing a little straightening on this stainless steel. And I've already straightened out there was some really bent really bad here, and there was some really bad bent here. And just to show you how these pliers work, I decided just to leave the worst bend for the video here. So what I'm going to do is, as I said, these really work well. Now you can get them that are wider, you know, I was told that and I already knew that, but it doesn't help much for this sort of bend right here. So let's see what we can do here. Just a little bit at a time. Just a little bit at a time. You just got to take your time. Got to be very patient because this is on a curve. You can cause more bends than what you started with. And yes, metal does stretch. Anytime metal is bent, it stretches. I don't care what it is. Steel, iron, it will stretch. And of course the question is, how far do we want to take this? Do we want to get it as straight as we can, or do we want to get it back to original? I don't know. Keep in mind, if you bend something one way and you go too far, you can always take it back. Don't worry about it. Get it nice and tight. Don't let it slip. It's looking pretty good so far. All I got left is this little part right here. Now this here went a little bit too far, so we'll take that back. I think that is, get a little focus here. It's not looking too bad right there. A little bit more finesse. I'll play with it a little bit, but not much longer. Alright, I think I'll call that quits because I'll only wind up doing more damage if I keep bending it. And that looks pretty nice through there, doesn't it? Nice and curvy like it's supposed to be. I decided to do a little check here. You know, for this being stainless steel, there should have been a whole lot more rust everywhere except where the body and the bolts were. And I'm thinking to myself, there should be a whole lot more rust than that. Why is that? Well, I got a magnet out. Guess what? This is not stainless steel. This is brushed aluminum. The dullness of the metal was another clue. And on the 57 Chevys that I pulled off and ran across buffer and shined them all up, that was stainless steel. But this is brushed aluminum. You notice how dull it is? I'm going to just clean this up with Brillo pad. I'm not going to need to use a buffer on it. I don't want to make it real. Although I've seen cars on the internet, your 66 Thunderbirds, where they have shined them up and made them look like mirrors. I don't think they were designed to be that way. I think I'll leave them brushed aluminum. Easier to clean, and I can maintain the brushed aluminum with some very, very fine wet dry sandpaper if it's needed. Keep that in mind, guys. Somebody should have told me about that. One of you guys out there should have told me. I'm getting ready to de-rust underneath here, but we have to plug all the holes before I do, because when I spray on the rust reformer after I've wire brushed it all, we don't want it getting up in here. It'll peel up this paint. Now you can use less sticky type tape. I use this because this is what I had, but you don't need to be pressing it down. You don't want the tape to bring up the paint either. So just kind of lay it in there and just kind of gently push it down around the edges, and it'll plug those holes. And you look up underneath once the car gets back up, or if you're underneath it, look up under there and see if you got any more holes that need to be plugged. Take your time, do it right, or you'll pay the price later. Alright, we're about ready to go here. The most of it will be done with this brass brush and a drill, just back and forth. All I'm going to do, this is very light rust, there's nothing deep, fortunately, for a change. I'm going to take my time, go slow and easy, and most of it should come off. Now, this can't get to all of it. You have to be willing to expend a little elbow grease once in a while. You can't restore a car completely with machinery. You got to, elbow grease is where it's at. So along in this area here, get down. I'll use a wire brush on this because I can't apply that much pressure with my hand. But anywhere else that needs it, Then up along in this area here, I'll just touch that up. And a few spots like this will be touched up. They're all going to be hit with rust reformer and then paint. These here need it really bad, but you know, again, this is a wire brush. I might use the electric brush and the drill on these two. I don't know. Let me knock that out. And then this, real problem there, but we have a solution. Now one more thing, up underneath here, there's rust. You can see here where my hand is. Anyway, there's some rust up in there that, you know, I would have to dismantle the entire fenders and inner fender wells and all that stuff on. I'm not going to do that. This is a refurbishment, not a restoration, so it's not that bad. We'll let that go. But this up under here, this is where a lot of water splashes, and this car won't be taken out in the rain, the gook and the ice and the crap anyway, so not that big a deal. Well, let's get started. Last but not least is our old bumper again, and I have got it all taken care of, except for one last item. Some of you wanted to know how I was going to go about it before I even started, so I'll just show you how it is now that it's over. I took a lot of wire brushing, both brass and steel, and just brushed it down. Just really scrubbed about 6, 7, 8 times. Washed it off with water when I got done, let it dry, and then used a couple of containers of this messy stuff. Seemed to work somewhat. I don't want to use any more of it. It's too messy. And then, and you can't use navel jelly if it gets on the chrome. The navel jelly says on the bottle, you know, don't use it on chrome. But this stuff here says it's safe on chrome, so I don't know, whatever you think. I just think it's very messy. Now after I used up 2 bottles on this, in between each application, again with the steel wire brush, you saw me do some of that. Then I put 2 coats of, after everything dried, I let it set overnight, 2 shots of 2 layers of rust treatment. After that dried 24 hours, I put 1 of this over the top of that, let that dry 24 hours, and then I put 2 coats of really heavy coats of this rusty metal primer. And I let that set overnight, and that's where we're sitting right now. Now the last thing I'm going to do, now that it's all dry, it feels real good. It's nice and smooth and everything all the way around. I tell you what, it was not easy. And then I'm going to hit it with undercoating. I'm going to give it a good solid covering of undercoating. And some of you might say, well, that's a lot of overkill. Exactly right. It's overkill. I love overkill. Anyone who's watched my videos over the years knows that. But this thing here will probably never be out in the rain and the snow and the mud and the muck. So, yeah, it's overkill. But that's okay. I enjoyed it. It was quite a project, really. It was almost more work to the interior on the car when I had to de-rust all of it. So, I'm going to get started on that. I'll show you when it's finished in a second here. Well, that's it, ladies and germs. What do you think? I think it looks 1,000,000% better than what it did. It looks really good. We got about 98%, 99% of the rust off. Nothing's going to happen to the inside of that bumper in the rest of my lifetime anyway. It's probably good for another 50, 60 years. And you know, if they don't drive it in the rain, whoever gets the car next, or the snow, it'll last even longer than that. Can't wait to get it back up, but you know, the only thing I got to do now is take some lacquer thinner, clean off the overspray and different things that got on the chrome, and then later on we'll give it a good buffing. Quite a while down the road though. And up under here has all been de-rusted, and it's all been sprayed with that rust reformer in different places around here. I really covered it really heavy. It got a few runs and spots, but all of this again is going to be undercoated. This will be undercoated. And over here will be undercoated up in through here. I'm not even going to paint this white, Wimbledon white. I'm just going to go ahead and we'll put the headlight bucket right back on top of it. And this should look really good. And over here is the only problem we're going to have. This has to come out and be replaced. As you can see, it's just they put this thing in there as I showed you earlier. God. Well, last but not least, old Buzz 1151 up there in Portland. He's always making, you know, snide comments about my old wrinkly hands. I think he's got a hand fetish. Now, I know he's got a foot fetish, but he won't admit it. So we're going to help him with that. Doesn't that make you want to come down here, Buzz, and smell it? Until next time, this is John.